Hi, this is Steve Gladys at the George Mason Enterprise Center here in Fairfax, Virginia. Thanks for coming back. We're talking about the Agile Leader, the book that we did several years ago. We talked about trust as one of the elements that helps with agility and your ability to move and change and adapt. The second one is politics and power. Every organization is organized based on power. There's a structure, an organizational chart that delineates who's in charge of what. Power is sometimes very invisible within an organization. Sometimes it's very much a part of the organizational structure. Other times it's very much personal power that still has power within the organization. One of the most challenging things that you'll ever have is when you come into an organization from the outside, and that's what I want to talk about briefly right now. Heifetz and Linsky are two professors at the Kennedy School of Business at Harvard, and they sort of outline this in their book, Leadership on the Line. And I've kind of made a little graphic here to help demonstrate. I call it the power seesaw. You know, on seesaws, when you're on a seesaw with somebody heavier than you have to move around to make it sort of balance. Well, in a power relationship, if there's a leader here, and let's call this the CEO. And let's say that you come into a situation that's got a lot of problems here, and this is, say, the problem. And you come into the organization. You don't have a lot of power to start with, so that the weight of this group is much heavier than you. So the CEO has to move in this direction to sort of weigh out, to sort of balance out this very heavy thing and this other person. Is giving you much more leverage in the beginning. The problem happens is if you go into an organization too quickly and you begin to make a lot of changes before you understand the culture in the organization, power begins to shift. And here's what happens: is this group starts to push back on the CEO or the leader, and you begin to get power, you begin to get weight added to you, and you become the problem after a while if you make too many changes in the beginning, and the CEO or the leader has to start moving in your direction to now balance this whole thing out. And what ends up happening is eventually, if the CEO or the leader has to be with you every day, monitoring your remarks, your comments to the group, because he's getting such amount of feedback, what ends up happening is you get bounced from the organization. It's really kind of difficult to watch. But typically within 6 months to a year, you can tell whether somebody is either integrated well into the culture or is not. And it takes usually another 6-8 months before the organization bounces you out. And it all has to do with this dynamic of power. The message here is to go into an organization and get a feel for the culture before you start to change it, because this is a really important dynamic, and that while you go in to solve a problem, you may become the problem itself if you begin to push back on the culture too much too soon before the culture can take it. Agility comes from this balancing, this power. It's a very, very deft thing that the CEO does, moving back and forth, and you have to adjust to the organization as well as them adjusting to you. So this is Steve Gladys in the Mason Enterprise Center. Hope that you enjoyed it today, and we're going to come back and talk about how to have difficult conversations or tough talks with people when you need to have them. Thanks very much, and we'll talk to you soon.